do this, and now I can say, hey, everyone, welcome. Um, this has been on my mind lately. I just have to do a couple rants and get through it. We're going to be watching some videos. Um, so what happens to cockroaches is when you or any infestation, anything that's infesting. This infestation is of the mind. We have the woke mind virus. Um, It's infesting the minds. It's institutionalized, exquisitely refined psychological warfare being done to um, the youth. Because remember, in praxis, you have to you do the woke communism to the victim. You don't teach it to them. You do it to them. So we have wokeism being done to us in institutions, from the government, from mainstream media, from every news media source you could get. Maybe even this one. Double check me. Okay. Always doubt and verify. Always double check. So I got to go on this rant. It's why does wokeism? Well, it's totalitarianism, it's fascism, it's communism, all those things where you have to centralize power and get the guns away from the citizens, get their money away, get their land away, get their means of having a good life, take all that away, concentrate it up to one source, the central government, the emperor, whatever, and then that emperor dictates what happens to all the resources. Why do people always want that? Like, we found out it's bad. 100 years ago, the totalitarians were rising up, and we said, hey, you fucking retards, we are going to kick the shit out of you really good and kill the hell out of you because you're killing people, and totalitarianism never works because killing people and taking their stuff is a bad thing. And then everyone in the world was like, yeah, that's a bad thing. We think that that's a bad thing now. So we all went and killed the shit out of all the dictators. Now we're doing it again. We're like, no, wait. We gave it a new name, a new little, thin veneer of paint. We're calling it wokeism. Now it's cultural Marxism, So now it's totalitarianism of the mind. You got to capture the mind. So we're doing it again. And all the little children in college are clapping and cheering for it, while the corporations and military and Congress are walking them right over the cliff, right into the gulags again. And they're cheering for it. As long as they could wear their stupid trans flag all around and dance to the gulag, they're totally freaking fine with it. Why? How does that happen? Less than 100 years ago, three generations, the world decided that totalitarianism is bad, that giving one little group a whole bunch of power and all the guns and all the resources and all the food and all the money, and then them deciding who gets it, is a bad thing. We decided that's a bad thing as a world, as a species. But then we're doing it again right now. Why? Because of brainwashing. Real easy. Because of exquisitely refined psychological warfare over generations. And all these empty heads, these college universities are producing empty-headed shells of people that have huge amounts of emotions, that are able to scream really loud at points that they don't understand. And they're just mass producing these people. I saw it firsthand. That's the reason I went for my master's, was because I was in the healthcare field. And this was right before the woke movement, just sloughed and plebbed out of the body of society. The pustule of woke wasn't at the surface yet. It was there, but not complete like it is now. So I was just looking around, and why are all these healthcare administrators just backwards? Like, they don't need degrees, they don't need anything. They just have to show up and make all these weirdly bizarre decisions And they do it over and over and over and over again. And they protect each other. They get into groups, protect each other. So they never tell on each other. And then it's total, not sadism. What is that? When you protect your family. I can't remember. One of those good words. So I was like, why is this happening? And it's ubiquitous. It was through all the fields, but medicine, it was like, we like patient care. Patient care is actually code for bottom line. This is patient care. We got to do it this way because of patient care. That means they're trying to, save money. And there was all the double speak, of course, that's everywhere. But I was like, why is it so? And it's all the same weird thing. Like when a new fad hits, and for kids or whatever, like they're all wearing the same jeans somehow. Mine was Jinkos. That's, gives my age away a little bit. But all of a sudden everyone's wearing Jinkos. Why? Because it's being pushed. And so that's why all of a sudden all these people are woke and they're making these completely retarded decisions that have nothing based in reality. But they say, yes, that's a good thing that it's not based in reality because reality needs to be dismantled and blah, 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 blah. We'll go into that later. They take their insanity and their nonsense and twist that into a good thing. And I was seeing this in hospitals. So my reasoning for going into my master's at the start was, and I wanted my master's, of course, but what is causing all these people to make these shitty decisions? Like for decisions to be that shitty, you have to have shitty thoughts if you're coming up with them yourself, but they're not coming up with these decisions themselves. But so I went to a healthcare administration master's. Like, how are these administrators becoming retarded? And, like towards the end of my second year, I'm looking around at all the my peers, I guess is what you would call them. And I just see it. These are the people that are in the hospitals. These are them. They're just empty heads. And I mean, they're smart. They're really super smarter than me probably. And they could just recite all the nonsense, all reverse racism. And everybody, I was looking around like, you guys, reverse racism is not a thing. That's called like raceophile. A racist is somebody who hates somebody for their skin color. A raceophile would be somebody who loves them for their skin color, but they call it reverse racism. Like, that's not a, and everyone just accepted it. Like, yep, that's just another normal thing. That's another thing we learn here in school. And I literally looked around at everybody. Total brainwash. Nobody was home. So it's designed this way. The reason healthcare, and again, I have to go on this rant because healthcare is in my wheelhouse. We don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. A sick care system where when you get sick, then you go to a doctor. When your car, like if we did this with automobiles, it's when your car starts smoking and the tires fall off, then you decide maybe you should put some air in your tires. But you got to go find your tire now because you don't know where the hell it went. But now it's time to put some air and some oil in your car because it's smoking and the tire flew off somewhere. That's the kind of healthcare system we have. That's called a sick care system. You wait to get sick until it's too late, then go to the doctor. A healthcare system would be a preventative maintenance system. You would get things checked out. You would be, well, whatever. We have a sick care system. So I found out that the wokeness is when they say we have, when the woke tards is what I call them, libtards, woke tards, whatever. It just, there's a set of people, and then there's another set of people, which is the woke. They have the woke mind virus, the empty shells, empty-headed people that had the woke virus downloaded, which you can literally call retarded because there's a normal way of thinking where, let's just jump into DEI. So diversity, inclusion, equity. So a diversity hire, because there's a normal set of hires of people you hired normally is based on merit. Do they have the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities to do the job they're applying for? Will they be good at this job? That's the normal hire. Now, a diversity hire doesn't need that, doesn't need any of that. All they need is your skin have melanin in it, a high level of melanin, and who do you sleep with? Hopefully the same sex as you. Because remember, genders do not exist in humans. Genders exist in language and in words to describe objects. But living creatures have sexes. So it's the level of a diversity hire doesn't need skills, doesn't need any life experience, doesn't need any knowledge or ability. They just need to have a high level of melanin in their skin, dark pigment, and hopefully they have sex with some weird combination out of the norm. Then they're hired. By definition, that makes them retarded compared to the normal hiring group, which is skills, knowledge, and abilities, where you actually could perform the job you're being hired for. So all diversity hires are they're most likely retards by definition, because they're being held to a lower set of requirements. They don't have diversity hires do not, the bar is lowered like a special needs hire. The bar is lowered and they're not expected to perform like regular hires. You see how that works? So by definition, a diversity hire is a special hire. It's a retarded hire. And they're clapping for this and they're going along with it. And they think this is fine, that we have to set the bar way lower to get you in. And they're fine with that. And now it's ruining them. Sure, you might have a shitty job or a good job, but you don't have to develop at all. They don't have to develop their skills. They don't have to learn anything that the rest of us, the normal hires, not the special, diverse, retard hires, the normal hires had to learn how to do the job, had to learn to have the skills and knowledge to perform the job well. Diversity hires don't. What's the only outcome of that besides ruining them? Because, the foot soldiers that prop up the communism, that try to get the communism installed, the foot soldier groups always get lined up against the wall and destroyed 100% of the time. So now, who's the foot soldiers this time? The diversity folk, the trans flag folk. Who else you got? Highly melanated folk, criminal immigrants. They're all going to be sacrificed later on. That's how it always goes. So there's just a warning. Like, if you think the corporations are your friends because they're hiring you based on your skin color and who you have sex with. Well, let me tell you, they're not your friends. Okay? Up to you what to do with this information. But the foot soldiers always get lined against the wall at the end. Firing squads, always throughout history. Be advised. So why is this woke so bad besides creating generational retardation, which is bad enough? Now, these people can't do anything. The woke, all they could do is, take their shirts off, show their fake tits out, and walk in the streets and yell at you for not liking them. You're not accepting us. Well, you're not accepting yourself. That's besides the point. And then they move on to the next person. So besides generational retardation, why is the woke movement so bad? Well, what does woke have in common with communism? Well, I forgot to open up with a founding father quote. I haven't did one of these videos in a while. I got into that video game too hard, Hogwarts Legacy, and I've been playing the hell out of that. So I forgot my format. Please excuse. So it dawned on me, and this is, this is years ago, probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. What is specifically being attacked by this woke movement? So we all know, and I said this in other talks, wokeness turns everything to shit. Everything woke touches turns to shit. Every institution, our colleges are garbage now. Not worth the paper that they're printed on, the degrees. Nothing. The STEM, maybe. But everything woke touches turns to shit. So what is woke touching? What is it specifically going after lately and strong lately? Well, has it gone after religion at all? Is are white Christians now being called domestic terrorists by the Department of Justice? Yes, they are. Are Christian soccer moms, just suburban Christian soccer moms, going to school boards and telling them to stop teaching their little kids how to get blowjobs to adults? They're now terrorists? Yes, that is happening. So religion is being, and don't get in the Catholic right now, the Catholic with the Pope and he excommunicated that other guy. It's a big story developing. I'm not going to cover it, but look into it right now. There's an excommunication of a bishop, and it's because of this huge, well, they're not telling you this part, but it's a huge child trafficking ring between Obama and all of them. It's massive between the NGOs, the cartels, and the Obama administration trafficking children with the Catholic Church. Look into that one. That's huge. It's happening right now. They're not covering that aspect of it. They're just saying, hey, this bishop got excommunicated for some reason. Okay, bye. Look into that one. I'll probably end up have to cover that later on. It's developing right now, so I'm gonna wait to see which way it goes. But it's huge. So religion completely compromised by woke bullshit. The Pope right now is he's a retard. Like, just awful. You won't even, it's just compromised. It's worthless. It's meaningless. You could watch cartoons or go to Catholic church. They do the same thing now. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing special about religion in the West now because it's been turned to shit. Okay. So that's one thing. The economy, that's super fucking easy. The economy turned to shit. What a modern monetary theory. Whenever deficits don't matter, you could just keep spending money and then spending more and more. They sound like a fucking Valley Girl. This is the official monetary theory, modern monetary theory. Deficits don't matter. Just keep printing money and spending money, and you will never have to look back and see your debt. That's like Wile E. Coyote running off a bridge. Like, as long as you don't look down, or running off a cliff, as long as you don't look down, you'll never fall. That's the Federal Reserve. That's what they're doing with your money, with your debt, because the dollar bill is a debt. It's a debt thing. It's a debt fiat. It's not. It's every time they print it, and every time the Fed prints one and sells it to the government, there's interest. So economy, complete shit on purpose. Managed decline. Managed descent. That should be say declined up top. Oh well. The nuclear family. Well, you saw what cracked to the inner city. You see the attacks. Now BLM is going to finish off what crack started, and AIDS and crack, or the BLM is going to pick up there. And what was their number one mission? What was their mission statement? BLM? Destroy the nuclear family. That was BLM's number one mission, was to destroy the nuclear family. Why? AIDS and crack didn't do enough? Nope. Didn't decimate certain populations enough. BLM stepped in to finish the job. Got everybody in the world hating them. How about that? Then all the leaders got arrested for embezzlement and fraud. Took all the BLM money and bought mansions while they were destroying the average black family. Imagine that. Imagine it being a huge CIA hoax and everybody with their Black Lives Matter flags and their communist power fist and empty-headed retards. And their history. What have we been doing the last couple of years? Tearing down statues, covering art with paint, with spray paint because of oil or something. The reasons don't matter. It's just it has to turn to shit. Spray painting Stonehenge doesn't matter. Like what they did to it doesn't matter. With the paint is an oil based plastic product. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to make sense. Glue your hand to the street. Doesn't have to be smart. You're empty-headed retards. But we got to destroy the history at all costs. Guidestones blown up. Priceless works of art being spray painted. You got to destroy the history. Don't create any works of art. Just destroy the works of art that exist. That's wokeism. Got to destroy the past. Burn the books. So that's everything that communism goes over. And the weird thing is, just by chance, that's the main things wokeism goes after. So just dive deeper if you want, but this did it for me. Wokeism and communism have a one-on-one relationship. Totalitarianism, Maoism, Marxism, anything that wants power centralized. Wants your guns taken away, wants your food taken away, wants your cars, wants your job, and everything taken away, all the resources centralized, and then the centralized power will divvy it up. I don't understand what these fucking communists think. So all these woke individuals, these trans flag folk, would they prefer, like in a kindergarten, if one toddler got all the toys and then that toddler could decide if they wanted to just share the toys or not? That's what they want, right? And then that toddler with all the toys that didn't have to share if he didn't want to, or she, they could also put anybody in timeout for any reason if they wanted a toy, or just for any reason. Like, nope, you're in timeout indefinitely. That's what these people want. That's the world they want to live in. I think what they think is that since they're the foot soldiers and they're helping to install the communists will in turn, once they get power, bestow upon these foot soldiers gifts. I think that's what they do. You promised. Line them up against the wall, shoot them, like every time throughout history. But I think that has to be what they're thinking, that they'll be swept along on the coattails of the communists because these woke, empty-headed retards helped them or something. I don't know. Believe me, I don't get it, which is, I think, a good thing, because if I understood insanity, I'd be insane. But yeah, that's wokeism these days. It's just it perverts everything. It destroys everything intentionally. Why would BLM want to destroy the nuclear family? How would getting mom, dad, kids destroyed help black people? It wouldn't. It'd make the kids end up on the street, dad goes to jail, mom ends up on drugs, kids grow up, kids go to jail. That's what BLM wants. Because AIDS and crack didn't finish everybody off. Just see what you see. See how easy these people are manipulated. And do not be one of the manipulated. Do not be it. See what's happening. There's no purpose to destroy any work of art unless you're trying to remove it from history. If you don't like a piece of art, don't see it. Go create something yourself. But if you want to destroy a piece of art, it's because you were trained to destroy it and to remove it from history. Now, we're going to go through some and now the woke people know we're onto them. We got their number. We know their playbook. So they're starting to pivot a little bit. So now there's this thing called bridge. And I don't want to watch this faster. How do I do that? Wait. I'll go 1.5. If this gets too annoying, let me know.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that's been forced down the throats of the West for a very, very long time. It's another form of affirmative action, that being the racially biased hiring practices, which act as a form of anti-white discrimination, making sure that you are more diverse, which always translates to having less white people working in your business.
It also discriminates against East Asians as well, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But that's more of an accidental side effect,
It is, yeah.
Whereas the intended reason is always to make sure that you've got less white men in your business.
That's it. That's it. Now you understand the whole woke movement. If you have a picture of 4 people, 2 white people, 2 black people, that picture is 50% diverse. Now, if you take another picture and it's 4 black people, that picture is now 100% diverse. That's it. That's all you need to know. DEI is an anti-white, the great replacement, all these criminal invaders coming up through the borders, and that's the legal term. Legal term is criminal invaders coming from Africa, from China, from the Middle East. Not people. The arguments done were like, yeah, you just don't like Mexicans. Like, these aren't people from South America. These are people that already had asylum, threw their IDs down on the Rio Grande, coming up the Darien Gap, were told by the NGOs to throw your ID on the ground before you cross. And we go down there. There's video of thousands and thousands and thousands of IDs. I just want to look it up real quick. Of course, Bing won't show it. Berkwam has it called Law and Border. Yeah. Oh, that's not it. That might be it. But yeah, it's just piles. And what is the fuck is this? Bing is so retarded. So whatever, we'll have to look at Law and Border with Ben Berkwam. Is he has a really good show called Law and Border. But yeah, just thousands and thousands of IDs thrown, and then they cross the border with children. No DNA taken. Don't know who these people are. 85,000 children missing right now that cross the border. We don't know where they're at. HHS says, like, Congress asked them, was like, so what are you doing about it? They're like, well, we called the number they provided and nobody answered. Congress was like, and then HHS was, that's it. Yeah, we did our due diligence. We called the number. They weren't there. What else do you want us to do? Like, find the damn kid. So 85,000 and rising right now. No DNA test. Some children being trafficked multiple times back and forth. But yes, it's an anti-white movement. That's all this is. All their clever ploys, all their super trans flag colors, it's all pointless. It's all being funded to replace white people and the West.
this. But this has been attracting a lot of pushback recently. So last year, there was the Supreme Court decision against Harvard, and I think it's the University of North Carolina, where they said that you can't implement these kinds of affirmative action rulings anymore. You can't do this because it's actually in breach of what the plain text of the Civil Rights Act, which is ironic because the Civil Rights Act, as it's been implemented in law from probably the 70s onwards, has been something that's been used to attack businesses' freedoms to hire based on merit, whereas now it's being turned around by the Supreme Court and saying, well, actually, no, you can't just use it to say we're not going to hire white people. And this is something that's been really bothering businesses, because businesses, more than anything these days, don't want to make money. They don't want to make good things. They don't want to make products that appeal to consumers. They want to discriminate against Americans and English people.
Well, the reason for this, I'm not sure if you're going to get into it, but they're a very sort of, with the carrot and stick side of things. Not only the stick is sort of PR and public opinion. If they're outed as being like, you've got too many white people, it makes them look bad and might damage their custom. But on the other hand, the far more seductive thing, the carrot, is that companies like BlackRock reward them heavily with investment. Companies can...
BlackRock, Sequoia, all those other ones are investing your pension funds, your retirement funds, into your ouster. Your retirement funds are being used to replace Americans. Just that simple. When you say it, when you see how simple it is, it just makes you sick that you bought into it at all, or that you didn't see it soon enough. But they're using your money to get rid of you on many, many different levels. This talk, we're focusing just on your melanation, the amount of melanin you have in your skin, which means your skin pigment, light or dark. And who do you like to sleep with? Because those are the two most important things to these woke individuals. Not your skills, not your life experiences, not anything that you could do to contribute to society. Who do you sleep with, and what's your melanin level?
Can live and die by how much they can pursue that carrot from companies like
BlackRock. Absolutely. But even BlackRock has started to change its tactics a little bit here. And there's also the fact that business executives tend to get bonuses dependent on how well they're able to hit their diversity and inclusion targets each year, which gives even the people at the highest rung of the ladder an incentive to continue.
They don't give a shit about how many black people they hire. They hire the black people to get the bonuses because the ones at the top are pushing this anti-white. You don't have to be skilled. You don't have to be able to do the job. You just got to get a person that was heavily melanated in, and then you get your bonus. Product's going to go down. Shareholders going to go down. No one gives a shit. We're getting our bonuses. Everything woke turns to shit. Well, I'm going to let it go because they're going to talk about bridges coming up soon. That's what I want. Or bridge. That's the new woke terminology, because we got them dead to rights on on the current woke terminology. So we got to get them so they're changing they're pivoting. Just like during the pandemic, they kept changing definitions. That way nobody knows what they're talking about, and they could just keep doing what they're doing because nobody knows what they're doing.
Pushing these very harmful practices. And so what's been going on because of all of the backlash? You've got some Republican governors in American states saying that we want to legislate against this. Well, has business decided to turn around, big business, and say, well, we'll stop doing it then? No. What they're trying to do in a very underhanded way is rebrand it in a way to slip it under the rug so that it's still there, but the people who've been paying attention to it and reporting on it don't know. Now, I'm going to be covering some stuff that people have been trying to say to us for a while. You need to cover this, and I'm not going to cover it in incredible detail, but I'll go over this article first and then go over some of the reporting that's going on with Bridge, which seems to be another rebrand of this to try and sweep it under the rug and get it under our noses without people noticing what's going on. So there's some very interesting examples given in this article about how it's being rebranded. So last year, they say Eli Lilly's annual shareholders letter referenced the acronym for diversity, equity, and inclusion 48 times. This year, DEI was nowhere to be found.
And DEI is more pervasive this year, and it's ubiquitous everywhere, but it's not mentioned at all. They're still doing it. The actions are still happening. They just gave it a new definition, just like Fauci during the pandemic policies in 2019. They're still doing gain of function research and activities, but they deleted the term gain of function from the CDC website. So now Fauci, the day before Fauci went into Congress, so they deleted it. And then the next day, Fauci went to Congress, said, No, we don't do gain of function. You could even look at our website; it's gone. Was it Johnson caught him? Somebody caught him. Was like, yeah, because you deleted it yesterday. So they're not They're not smart. They think they're smart, or maybe they've been doing this in the past, but now we know their playbook, and we're just sitting there watching them scramble around, and it's not working. But yeah, so the previous year, DEI was mentioned 48 times. The next year, 0. But they're still doing all the things. It's still there. It's just not called DEI anymore because how much it makes people want to puke.
March, Starbucks got shareholder approval to replace representation goals with talent performance for executive bonus incentives. At Molson Coors, people and planet metrics have displaced environmental, social, and governance, that's ESG goals, and the acronym DEI has disappeared altogether. As they rebrand programs and hot-button acronyms, they're reassessing decades of old anti-discrimination strategies and rewriting policies that once emphasized race and gender to promote inclusion for all, which is a distinction without difference, clearly. It goes on to say in here that you've got the chief executive for the Society for Human Resource Management, Johnny C. Taylor Jr., said that practitioners of DEI and its antecedents traditionally have focused on improving representation for historically marginalized groups, believing that the magic bullet was diversity. We underestimated that inclusion was the real challenge. So this again seems like a distinction without a difference. But if I was going to try and draw out what he means here, just to finish off what he says, now people are saying not only should we probably call it something different, so it's all PR, we should probably evolve it. So if I'm to draw out what he's trying to say here, is basically we've got these people through the door, we've hired all of the ethnic minorities. Now, how do we get them more actively involved in the business? How do we get it so that they're in positions of power for themselves? Because, of course, there was the Bloomberg article that came out earlier this year talking about how following the George Floyd riots, which is where a lot of this stuff really kicked into the next gear, they did go on this massive hiring binge of...
George Floyd died from a drug overdose from swallowing all the fentanyl he was buying from his drug dealer when the cops pulled up. Okay. St. George died from a fentanyl overdose while on methamphetamine because he swallowed all the fentanyl he bought from his drug dealer while still in the drug dealer's car when the cops pulled up. Okay.
Ethnic minorities, particularly blacks and Hispanics. But what you found is if you broke the data down, it was all on the ground level, menial labor jobs, data entry stuff if you're going into a big business that was a tech job, for instance. It wasn't any of the big executive positions. In fact, some of those actually reduced in their ethnic minority quotas. But what this seems to be is saying, okay, we've got these people in on the ground floor. How do we push them up the ladder artificially?
Of course, the real concerning thing about this is not only that it's discriminating against, white and Asian people, it's also that the only way that they're going to get these people in positions of power is if they promote them on grounds other than merit.
Is June 2023, which lines up with another article from PR Newswire published in August 2023 about Bridge's plans for changing DEI and their inclusion, maturity assessment and capability building program, or IMAX. Now, obviously, Bridge 2.0, what was Bridge 2.1? If you read some of the reports that she posts in here, it seems to have been a large...
All right, this is new to me. I mean, I knew it was called Bridge, but I'm still wrapping my head around. Remember what I always say. The healthcare administrators, all these woke, empty-headed retards. You have the right easy answer, which is hire skilled workers to do the job well. That's the right answer. Not going to do that. We're going to hire not the skilled workers, so 180 degrees off. We're going to hire the people that aren't skilled, and we're going to twist it. I can't see my whatever. So you do the right answer. You're going to do the wrong the wrong answer, and then spin it 180 or spin it 180. So you're in the wrong direction. Then twist it 90 degrees. So we're not going to hire the right people with the skills, knowledge, and abilities that would do the job well and create a good product, whatever that product is. What we're going to do instead is hire the wrong people for the job based on their melanin levels and who they like having sex with. And that's the twist. So, super easy. The Bridge mission is to create a cultural shift in companies where DEI principles flow through all facets of an organization, from the C-suite and marketing through product development, procurement. So, they got the ground level shitty. Now we got to get it up to the CEO, the C-suites. We got to get them to be shitty as well. Let's see how they're doing it. I hate that. I'm going to have to look more into this, but I just wanted to throw this on people's radar that DEI is now being weaponized even greater. All these foot soldiers, all these empty-headed retards are just don't buy their products. That's it. That's why you see America First, we're starting a parallel economy. We're starting our own social media networks. Well, if you're on Rumble right now, because I'm streaming on Rumble, mostly Rumble Studio, we're starting our own parallel networks. We got our own social media going, Truth Social, Getter, Rumble. We're getting out of this DEI retard bullshit. And the only people that are going to be left, because for DEI to work, it has to spread. You have to keep getting converts, like a cult. It is a cult. So it needs to spread. And when all the normal people are gone, all you're left with is these extremists who are all just trying to recruit each other. And we're getting close to that, because now that's when that happens, is when they start eating each other. Because the left will always eat the right, and America First and MAGA. We support each other. We come together and support each other. The left eats each other. That's the main difference. I'm gonna let this roll for a little bit more and then move on.
Survey conducted.
But bridge is the new DEI code word
around large corporations to see how they're initiating their DEI programs and what they've learned from it, what they think could be improved, trying to coalesce all of that data into something that can be turned into kind of an operating manual for all.
So all it is once you dry up the dark money, once these big hedge funds who control trillions of dollars and control your pension and your retirement, and they're spending it on the destruction of the West. Once that money dries up, once the dark money goes away, then this DEI shit will go away. Nobody wants it. It's stupid.
All big businesses going forwards on how to properly implement affirmative action. So that's that. In the above article, they state the program reveals 72 business practices across 5 dimensions of the workplace and marketplace and measures inclusion maturity at both the brand and company level, giving leaders a concrete assessment of where the gaps exist. A process to prioritize the gaps and capabilities required to bridge the gaps. Keep saying gaps. IMAX is currently being piloted at Campbell's, Sephora, and others. And this graph is included. Now, I think if I go a bit further, no, I have missed the particular graph. Where is it? I think it might be in one of the other ones that I did. But either way, let me see where it is. Apologies for this, gentlemen. So that's a new thing. DEI is mentioned 0 times this year because they evolved it up. So it's still happening. It's just
maybe 100 million people died in China during the Great Leap Forward. That's a hell of a leap forward.
I guess history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, or however it goes. What does that mean practically? In our world right now, at least 1 billion, I think 6, frankly, billion people dead. The 100 million of China through the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward is pittance compared to what would happen if they're able to completely collapse the first world. Marx famously said, better to rule in hell than serve in heaven, which is echoing Satan, because his idea was, if I can't have it, nobody should have it. So it's always revolution or destruction is what happens with Marxism.
The purpose of propaganda is to make one group of humans forget that another group of humans is human, something like that.
Oh, that's a really good one.
So you just put people in these buckets, and then you're like, oh, demonize, kill, destroy, whatever. So central banking is Marxist money.
And then they get people to hate each other and blame each other, right?
Yeah.
Well, how do you do that? Do happy people hate each other? No. Do comfortable people hate each other? No. You have to inject pain into the system.
Right.
that's what we're
Then you
going
get the
through
one
right
group
now.
to blame the other.
We're going through the pain. This is a cultural struggle session. You have to get people uncomfortable, get them in the streets, make their groceries unaffordable, make them have to have 2 jobs, make their schools unsafe. Do you see it? Do you see what is happening? Okay, and here's the secret. Here's the future. This will continue and it will accelerate, which means it'll get worse. More school shootings, more deaths, more injuries, more sick people, double turbo cancer. Everything will increase until you wake up. Until you wake up and say, nope, no more stripes on that trans colored flag. You got way too many already. You can't have the rainbow. Rainbows are for everybody. That's just physics. You can't have a monopoly on the rainbow. Nope. Your pronouns are retarded. Fuck you. Nope. Once you wake up and just say no, like Neo in the Matrix, no, that you guys are stupid. You're very fucking stupid. This woke shit is retarded. No. Until you do that in your own words, because those are my words, use your own words if you're nicer, if you're meaner, whatever. No. Until you wake up, it's going to get worse. More children trafficked, more live human organ transplant and harvesting. Slavery, the slave markets, and human trafficking is the biggest it's been in human history by orders of magnitude. It's never been, slavery has never been this big in the world ever. Right now. Child trafficking is the biggest it's ever been ever. Right now. Till you wake up and say no, it will get worse. More children will be harmed. More humans will be trafficked. More criminal invaders will come across the border and rape their way across the West. It will not stop and it'll get worse. They will get organized. Then we'll have rape caravans, rape gangs. That's coming up. Unless you say no. Unless you say no. Wake up, say no. We must protect America. Until you say that, it's going to get worse. And that's sad, and I hate saying that, and I don't want that. I want people woke up. I want people having great communities. I want to restore the nuclear family. So in that aspect, I am very much against BLM because I want to restore the nuclear family, not destroy it.
Other group for the pain.
Right.
And then you tell the group that's being blamed that those people are trying to steal your stuff.
Meanwhile, it's the state doing the stealing.
Hey everybody, welcome to the What is Money show. I am
Not too much fancy language.
Yeah.
And
This is James Lindsay. He
even I look
is
back at it
a
sometimes and I'm like,
badass.
whoa, I did that. All right.
Just having an on day. Well, thank God it was captured.
I wish
on
I could,
camera, and I'm
explain
glad
things
it's
as
gone
well as
viral
him,
so many
but
times because we
I am
need
definitely
something
learning.
pushing back against this mind virus. So what I thought we'd do today is like go through. I prepared an outline of points you went through in that presentation. That's why I want to dig into some of that with you. But before we jump in, I want to ask you about the definition of a concept that we explore on this show on probably every episode it comes up. And that is the social institution of private property.
Mhm.
Now, as I was telling you offline, it blows my mind still that when I bring up this term, most people think I'm talking about real estate. And I guess this is because you see,
Defines everything.
mhm.
So the problem is that when you get with something like Marxism, because you're incorporating more subjectivity, you can't weed out true believers from grifters very
Right.
easily. You don't have the tools. So
Right.
the answer to which is it is both. And I gave a long answer to that. So unfortunately, I forgot the very interesting first half of your question.
I guess I'm going to go to something else, but James Lindsay is the best when he's doing like a symposium, like just talking to an audience of something he's prepared. That's when, I mean, this might be a good talk. Definitely look into it. 3 hours long. I won't play that all right now. That'd make my job really easy, I guess. But all right, let's get some Jordan Peterson in on this. And Jordan Peterson's from Canada. And he was the first one to say, like, because Canada wrote into a law, what was it, 213, I can't remember. Some federal law where misgendering is now hate speech by law. You could go to jail if you misgender one of these trans flag freaks. And I'm not talking about the individual. I'm talking about the movement. I'm talking about making it a crime to say a language at them
the world or God demands that you constantly humble yourself in front of what's happening to you. You know, right now, you get this fires and the smoke. Well, guess what? Everybody in Washington, D.C., New York City has to deal with that. Reality has imposed itself. You have to humble yourself before what's happening around you and make adjustments accordingly. You don't get to just assert, well, I think the world should be this way. I think God should honor my sacrifice.
Yeah, right.
I think I should have the tower, however it is.
No, if your sacrifices aren't being honored, the first question to ask is, what have you done wrong?
Mostly with grassroots organizations, some bigger political stuff or legislators, but mostly moms and dads that are trying to do something in this country and around Canada as well to try to change.
Are you mostly in North America when you're traveling?
Overwhelmingly just in the US. Overwhelmingly.
How did the EU invitation come about?
This is a fundamentally theological architecture.
This isn't going the way I want.
I like knowing exactly where my meat comes from. And with Moink, I
think so. You tell me what you think about this. It's a set of ideas that I've been working on more recently. So I mentioned earlier that you could think about Marxism in two ways, and the new Marxist variants that we've been talking about, you can think about them as expositors of the doctrine of power, that every social relationship between human beings can be understood as a function of domination and compulsion. So that would be marriage, that would be friendship, family, economic relationships, history itself, every single social relationship. Now that has the advantage of extreme simplicity. And so even if you're not very bright, you can understand it. It's comprehensively explanatory, so that's attractive on a psychological front. And then there's a nefarious element, and the nefarious element is that, well, if it's all about power, then not only am I thoroughly justified in my use of power, because after all, that's just what you're doing, but it all
power. So that the new definition of racism, we covered this before. Everybody, it's called entryism. In communism, they use one definition, the ubiquitous definition, and then once they get in power, they switch it over to the specialized definition. So, for instance, racism. Everybody knows that racism is hating somebody because of the level of melanin in their skin. So they say racist, you know, the communists trying to get into power say racism, and everyone knows what they're talking about because everybody knows that definition. Until the communists get into power and they get infect and infiltrate the institutions, like in schools. Now, through DEI intersectionality, racism is a power structure. It's not about skin color anymore. It's cultural Marxism. So now it's a power structure. And conveniently, blacks don't have any power. So blacks, therefore, cannot be racist by this new definition because it's not skin color. It's not about hate. It's about power. So if you were born black, you're an oppressed because of the melanin in your skin. Doesn't matter what you do throughout your life, none of your skills, no matter how much you develop and progress and evolve, none of that matters because of the level of melanin in your skin. This is DEI. This isn't reality. This isn't my thoughts. This is DEI. It's a power structure. So blacks cannot be racist. Only whites can be racist. Because whites have the power. You see that? Isn't that convenient? Who's that going to attract? Poor dumb blacks. And they're in college to get an education, but they're not getting educated, they're getting brainwashed. That sucks. They're getting these people before they're 25, so their brains aren't fully developed yet. So they're infecting them with this virus before they're allowed, able to think for themselves. They're teaching them what to think, but not teaching them how to think. And that's what the intellectual dark web and everybody else is trying to break. To get these young black kids doesn't matter your skin color, get these young kids that have been troubled or, been targeted, to try to get them how to think, then figure out what to think on your own. But to be taught how to think is what we're missing in all the institutions now since DEI took over.
Also justifies any accusation possible, because you might come up with a claim, for example, that you're a proponent of free speech. And I can easily say, well, no, like as a white colonialist benefiting from the privilege of your position, you just use the argument that such a thing as free speech exists to justify your position in the power hierarchy.
Right.
And that's a universal criticism. And so then I can take anything that you might claim as positive and just transform it with intellectual jujitsu into a manifestation of the power drive. And it's fair to say that the drive to power is a human motivation, but it's not the only human motivation.
It's not the only one, that's right.
And it's also fair to say that when social relations are corrupted, they become corrupted in the direction of power. But that's a completely 100% different proposition than the claim that all human social relationships are predicated on power. I mean, you mean all, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know where. Okay, so there's the power claim, but then there's this undercurrent of bitterness and resentment, and I see this system of ideas that's playing out as an extension, actually, of the battle between Cain and Abel.
Yes.
Because so why yes?
This bitterness, this envy. There's the very devout or devout maybe is not the right word, but the very obedient Abel, and then he has these advantages. Cain gets very upset.
Yes, well, that's
and comes to murder him. This is, I think,
Yes.
exactly the motivation. And this is how do they proceed? So if we take seriously the concept that this is a Gnostic heresy, and you look back, whether it's Jews pre-Christ.
How did you come to that conclusion that it was a Gnostic heresy? Because I didn't know you had pursued this all the way back into the religious realm.
Well, I stumbled on a recommendation onto a philosopher named Eric Voegelin, who's got quite the reputation for having named Marx as a Gnostic. And then I went down a rabbit hole reading about Gnosticism and reading about Hegel and his relationship to this kind of mystical reinterpretation of Christianity. Glenn Alexander, Mickey, Eric Voegelin, these analysis. I read a little bit of Evola. Not a big fan of Julius Evola's writing, but I read a little. He makes these claims quite strongly as well. And then I just started to read the Gnostic texts myself and the Hermetic texts. And so I stumble. I mean, I've been claiming for a decade that this is a religious phenomenon,
it is
posing as sociology.
Wokism is a religious phenomenon. These people are completely spiritual, having blind faith in their leaders to save them. And all they have to do is get out and praxis on other people and convert the non-believers. Very strange. But I'm going to leave it at that. I actually want to watch this whole thing. I'll put the links in the chat. I can't. I'll figure something out, but I highly recommend these talks just to wet your beak and get your juices flowing. I don't know about the Lotus Eaters. I don't watch too much of them. I just stumbled across that Bridge is the new DEI, and and after we start reporting on that, they'll come up with a different name. Anything with James Lindsay is going to be good. And he has some really great talks. I can't find any of them right now. But it's a religion. DEI is a religion. It's an anti-white religion, and based on skin color. It's a religion based on skin color and the oppression Olympics. So just be careful. It's going to get worse until we say stop. Until the West, until Americans come together and say, stop. No more child playtime. None of your psychotic woke religion, your scientism. No. It's up to us. If we hold out long enough, they'll eat themselves. You'll see it. Now it's trans for Palestine. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to make any sense in reality whatsoever. But trans people for Palestine now. That's where we're at. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The Palestinians hate them. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to make sense. Doesn't have to, it's non sequitur. It doesn't have to do, this religion does not have to be logical at all. They have to have blind faith that what they're doing is right because they're screaming the loudest. That's it. And they've been brainwashed for generations in the institutions since they were kindergartners, being brainwashed by the demon trans story hour. If you love your kids, get them out of public schools now. That's a strong word of advice. Public schools will ruin your children. That's the only reason public schools exist, is to ruin children, to groom them. Know that. See it. If you disagree with public schools administrators, they will mark you as a domestic terrorist. Has happened, is happening. See what you see. Look around you. Protect Americans. All right, folks. That is my heavy rant for the day. Just see what you see. Look around. Disagree with me, that's fine. Show me some links. Let's get a discussion going. This is what I see. This is what I see going on. And I see it getting worse. That's not dooming out. Okay, here's the high note at the end. Not dooming out. Got to leave you with some hope. It's up to you. We could stop it. But I think we are going into a golden age. Human beings are going into a golden age, a renaissance of art, of beauty, of love, not this hate you see in the street, not these BLM, Antifa, trans flag people with their hate. Does that look like love to you? The summer of love was what they called it when they burned down cities and cop cars and blew up police stations and killed black children. That's their definition of love. That's not what I'm talking about. We're moving into a golden age, an age of worldwide peace, of love, of renaissance, of exploration, of discovery. We can have it in our lifetime. We could make that happen. Let's start today. Let's do that today. Let's make a great world happen today. There, that's a little positive note. So thank you for stopping by, and remember, we love you, and see you next time.